It's not working? You see. So there is also one from the construction company in Kenya. I showed it, but you didn't see it. Also, the Chinese didn't see it, so I will look for it. Where is it? Oh. No. Here it is.
My name is Samuel Ogege. I'm an engineer working with
Engineer.
National Radio Security. I went to Israel for the project management program in March 2011. The course in Galilee looks very intense. When you are going through it, you think it frustrating you, but it is really preparing you for the real life situation here, because the real life situation here is really also stretches you. Here, you have to go the extra mile and make sure that nothing falls behind you. And that is exactly how we were trained in Galilee. When I came back from Galilee,
It's okay? Yes.
I was moved from the maintenance department to design and construction. In the maintenance department, my work was basically look after projects that were completed. After coming from Galilee,
This is cost you. No more telephone now.
Yeah, yeah. Just talk.
starting them to completion, and then passing an hour with maintenance people to look after them. Currently, I have a total of about
30 projects.
that I'm coordinating throughout the country. One of our biggest projects is of waterfall between Kenya and Tanzania. This is a facility that is supposed to ease the movement of people and goods between the two countries. Project management in Galilee has helped
Jonas.
with skills,
Here.
knowledge, adequate exposure, ability to utilize the different resources effectively for the realization of projects on a timely and cost-effective manner. All this put together change my perception of how we can transform the world a better place than the world with it.
Yes.
Professor, you can start.
Yes, I can start now. We are also on Zoom.
Yeah.
On Zoom. Okay? Yes? So I'll start again. Also, we have our Chinese friends. So now it's not fair. I'll ask you again, who said it? So now you know Nelson Mandela. So with education. Also China, I know. I think very important. Education is very important. You speak English?
Yes.
You speak, you understand? Yes, yes, thanks. And also in Israel, you can see that Israel is still number 2, here, number 2 in the world in investing in education until today. And as I said, we were lucky that our first Prime Minister, Ben-Gurion, now for the Zoom, he made the decision that every child must go to school. Up to the age of 18, every child must go to school. And if the child is not going to school, the father is going to jail. Simple. And this is how Israel is so advanced. I talked already about this. But look at this. Israel is so small. Very, very small. And only 9.5 million people. Only 9.5. Ethiopia with, 110 million. We are only 9.5. It's like less than Addis Ababa. And look at this. Because we invested in education, please remember, this is the GNP of Israel, $400 million per year, only 9 million people. More than all our neighbors, Syria, Iraq, Jordan, Egypt, together. More, all of them together with 9 million people. Now, unfortunately, Ethiopia is only 120. 1/4 of Israel with 110, 120 million people. How can you explain it? Only by education. Now here is the population. I said already 110, 9.5. Now one word I must talk about climate change. Look at this. This is Africa. Here, from the year 900 until 2000, went up 1 full degree. 1 full degree. And already, if you look, you see here in the map, you see the Sahel. And the Sahel is a desert. I will talk about the desert in Ethiopia in a minute. And it's going down, going south. And here in Marsabit, in Kenya, north of Kenya, the governor of Marsabit came to study at Galilee, and he told me that 40% of all the livestock already died. 40% died because lack of water. We, Galilee Institute, we were part of a study, USAID study in East Africa, and about climate change. And we think also that Lake Victoria is even shrinking. So you can tell your friends, the Egyptians, that not only Lake Tana, they will get less money, also from Lake Victoria, the White Nile, you know. And here, look at this. This is Lake Victoria. In red, this is the amount of population. And you see, every 10 years, it's more and more people. Today, there are 30 million people already around the lake, and the lake is shrinking. And look at this. This is Lake Chad. Lake Chad in the middle of the Sahara. But this is 1972. Lake Chad was the size of Israel, 20,000 square kilometers. And today, totally dry. 20,000 square kilometers, totally dry. In the middle of the Sahara. And here, because of climate change, there is a less. Here is Ethiopia, and we can see fewer days, change in length in growing period. So here, there are fewer days. And not only that, here, this is Ethiopia in the red. Because of climate change, the United Nations estimates between 15 to 50% less agricultural production. Between 15 and 50% less agricultural production. And here also, 50%. Nigeria, Burkina Faso, Cameroon, Ethiopia, Ghana, and Kenya reduce 50%. On top of everything, there is forestation. Deforestation. You cut trees. Look at this. You cut trees, and even the trees that you don't cut, look at them, how they look. Miserable. And here, in the world, 31% of the world is covered by trees. Number 1 is Sweden, 69%. 23 is Africa, on the average. Ato Jonas, 23 is Africa, 15% is Uganda. Look at this. Kenya is only 6%. Only 6% of Kenya is covered by trees. And look at Ethiopia, only 3%. They cut trees, charcoal and all those things. That's it, no trees. By itself, it contributes to climate change. So climate change, of course, comes to water. Now, I don't know if you can see, but look, every country in Africa, you have half of the water, even less than half. Here is Ivory Coast. This is the amount of water in the year 1990, and today, not today, in the year 20, less than half. Niger, less than half. Benin, all of them. Where is Ethiopia? Here is Ethiopia. In 1990, you had this amount, and in 2025, half, even less than half. Less than half, can you imagine? And here this is my wife, I was in north of Kenya, Tana River. The biggest river of Kenya is Tana River. This is the governor. The governor is alumni of Galilee, so he invited me. And this is also under the Kilimanjaro. This is Hanit, by the way. And we were together under Kilimanjaro. The water is going to the ocean. They don't stop the water. They don't use the water. Here, the 90% of the water is going to the ocean. Only 10% is going to Mombasa. This is the major source of water in Mombasa. Here in 2018, there was a Blue Economy Conference in Nairobi, 20,000 participants in this conference. I was the keynote speaker, and the whole thing is, what are we going to do with less and less water? And not only that, look at this. You can see here, these areas at most risk from climate change. You can see here, areas at most risk from climate change. And they, here, maybe all the problems that you have, security. Here we can see north of Nigeria, Boko Haram. You heard about Boko Haram? You have here Darfur. Here you have the Shabab in Somalia. You also have problems with Somalia. Here is the Shabab. So maybe all those problems of terror and security because of climate change, because of lack of water. And indeed, Syria, I'm sure you heard about the war in Syria, 10 years of civil war. And because, Ato Jonas, you know, as a teacher, I see here, he was right. He turned it off, that side. So, okay. So in Syria, listen to that, in Syria, what happened in Syria? There were 3 years of no rain. Also the Turks put dams on the rivers, and farmers could not continue cultivate their land, so they moved to the cities. They hoped to find jobs. They didn't find jobs, so they started to steal. They started to kill. That's how the civil war started. 10 years of civil war because of lack of water. And 500,000 people died. And we talked about yesterday that even here you have some refugees from Syria that are begging food and this and this and this. So there are estimates of the World Bank and the United Nations that by 2030 there will be civil wars in Africa because of climate change, because of lack of water. But the question is there a solution? So here I want to show you one solution. Reuse of water. Now listen, in Israel we reuse 90% of our water. You flush the water in the toilet, the water goes, and we purify the water. 90% of the water. You know, if we get to 100%, we don't need any more rain. We just the same water going back and forth. Now, when we purify the water is even safe to drink. But nobody wants to drink water from sewage. So we have 2 separate pipes with 2 separate color. One is going to drinking, and one is going to agriculture. But more and more agriculture is watered by reuse of water. Now I ask you, if we, Ato Jonas, if we do it in Israel, can we do it here in Ethiopia? Of course, it's not a secret. And it's not holy, it's not by him. Yeah, if we do it there, you can do it here. Here, Israel is #1 in the world. Here it's written 87%, it's already 9. The second country is Spain, only with 17% of the reuse of water. In Australia, 15, Greece, here, USA, only 5% of the water reuse. So this is the agriculture. You know, 90% of all the country, of course there is dripping system. I'm sure you heard about the dripping, also developed in Israel. Now the dripping system is all computerized. Not only dripping, we talked about it yesterday, there is also not irrigation, fertigation. We also put in the pipe the fertilizers, the water and the fertilizers, and everything is computerized. And I told Ato Jonas that today, by drone, can you imagine? You have computerized drones, they fly over the field, and by the color of the leaves, of the plant, they know whether they have to increase the amount of water of the leaves. Can you imagine? So here, this is the Negev. Negev, half of Israel is desert. All the south, it's called Negev, but all the agriculture of Israel is moving into the south, into the desert. Because once you have water, it's not a desert. Here, these are, look at this, cherry tomatoes in the desert. Orange in the desert. So if we can do it there, we can do it here also. Here, watermelon in the desert with no soil. They are in the air because anyway there is no soil. Here, this is water management, a group from Kenya that came March 2020. You remember what happened in March 2020? The Corona started. March 2020, they were stuck in Israel. They flew back. Now we have an agreement with in Kenya you have 47 counties. And they have, in each county there is a governor, so they have council of governors. So we signed an agreement with the council of governors, all the 47, and every 2 years we renew. So here is the agreement. And this is next to you, Turkana. Turkana is the biggest county in Kenya, 4 times bigger than Israel, 80,000 square kilometers. Israel is only 20,000. So the governor of Turkana, who is alumni, Nanuk, alumni of Galilee, he organized a group of 10 expert engineers, but water engineers. They came to Galilee for 1 month. So also they learned water management, but also we worked with them on a model, how to turn Turkana to a garden. And Turkana has the potential, although there is no water, but it has the potential. And here, this is Midland State University. Here is the president, Mebebe, also an alumni. This is in Zimbabwe. Zimbabwe is bordering Namibia, and the desert from Namibia is moving into Zimbabwe. So how do we stop it? Water management, water. So we have a 9-month program with Midland State University, 6 weeks in Israel. Now look at this desert. Do you know this desert? Danakil, here. 7 times bigger than Israel, 136. And you know, in one of the places, this is the hottest place on earth, hottest, 50 degrees, because it's 100 meters below sea level. Although those who have been to Israel went to the Dead Sea is 400 meters below sea level. Have you been to Israel? In the Dead Sea also, you swim in the Dead Sea? Excellent. So tell him, he's afraid to swim in the Dead Sea. So here, this is desert, the whole desert. I know that this is such a desert that sometimes you don't have any rain the whole year. But if we reuse water, we can bring water, and and it's no longer a desert. Now here, this is the president of Liberia, Helen. She came to us, and we are doing the same thing, reuse of water and agriculture. Here we met, but I don't remember what probably I said something about God. You know that in Israel we say that when you want to talk to God, Dr. Debebe, you remember? It's a local call. When you talk to God in Israel, it's a local call. Here in Ethiopia, when you want to talk to God, it's international call. No? So here I talked to her, I told her something, and she replied to me also with this. You see, also. Here, Kano State, the north of Nigeria. Kano State, also desert. North of it's already the Sahara. So this is the governor. In Nigeria, they have 36 states. So we signed an agreement. You see, Kano State Government Nigeria, Galilee International Management Institute, 5-year agreement. 5-year agreement for 100 trainees per year. Of course, we had to stop because of Corona. Here, this was just now, September 2022. This is in Nigeria on agriculture, but digital agriculture. Now agriculture is becoming more and more digital. So we are talking about digital, and this is the World Bank. You see, World Bank, they invited us, and we launching. This is the official launching of the innovation development effective in the acquisition of skills. That's the name of the project. So we start this project. This is the former president of Kenya, Uhuru Kenyatta, came to Galilee. And again, we talked about agriculture. How? Because Kenya is in such a problem, 50 million people. And you cannot feed them if you don't upgrade agriculture and start reuse. Now look, in Israel, agriculture is only 2.5 from our GDP. That's it. And how many? And Export only 3.6. And only 3.7% of our people work in agriculture. But still, 95% of all the food that we eat, we produce it. In Ethiopia, 40% of GDP is agriculture, 80% of export, but 75. If 75% of the workforce, and if it was efficient, it was 75% of GDP. So very inefficient. We have to train them. We have to teach them how to, and I met Professor Reyasu last time, state minister, and he said that there are 75,000 extension officers that have to teach the farmers, but they don't do anything. They are sleeping. That's he said. Now this is the Israeli dairy. The Israeli dairy, you know, the Israeli cows, those who have been to Israel, can you imagine Israeli cow is giving 50 liters, 50 liters of milk per day. 50. And there are cows even with 70. But 50, and now a cow is a cow. What do you think? A cow in China is a cow. A cow in Ethiopia is a cow. And this is what you saw with Mato Amai, our alumni from Kenya, Nyeri County, that he established a school. And in 1 year, all the farmers were producing twice as much. So this is a cow here, 50 liters per day, the cows. And this is, of course, the factors is also genetic.